Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. You're watching another edition of The Small Business Show exclusively right here at ASBN.com and now streaming on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Today we're discussing how you can use humor in leadership development and the balance between professionalism and employee engagement. Joining us now is founder of Keeping It Human, author and improv comedian and keynote speaker, Miss Kathy Guest. Kathy has been featured in Inc. magazine, Huffington Post, and more. Thank you so much, Kathy, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on the show.
Oh, you bet. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So for those that might not be as familiar with you as we are here at the show, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm sort of what happens when a leader in tech has a baby with a comedian. That you get me.
You get me.
You get me. So spent a lot of years in Silicon Valley tech, leading teams, also have a background in stand-up and improv and sketch. And I think the two worlds go together more often than we think. And I think for better results, that's really the key.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be able to laugh at it all, right?
Obviously. Yes. Yes.
In the past, you've written that it is important to use humor in leadership and development. Why do you think that is?
You know, I think leaders sometimes take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And if we take ourselves so seriously, the truth is nobody will take us seriously.
Yeah.
And leaders need to step up, be authentic. And I know that's a buzzword today, but show up relaxed, be a little vulnerable, and really connect. And I think your team is looking for you to make it safe and to know that it's okay to let their guard down a little bit. So you set the tone. And your team's looking at you and how you show up. So I think it's imperative that you are able to laugh at the hard stuff and to say, hey, it's okay to experiment and it's okay to be imperfect here. We speak human. That's the message.
That's right. But you know, I will tell you, just leading the companies that we have here, it's concerning to make things, make light of certain things. And of course, you got to stay within the boundaries out there. You can't do any off-color jokes or offend anybody, but I think everybody's concerned about that, right? That if you make things fun, that somewhere along the line you may say the wrong thing, right? Or somebody might feel as though, oh, it's this kind of environment. One of your workers, or not workers, but one of your associates may say, oh, let's have some fun, and here's what I'm going to say. And then, of course, 3 people come in and say, I can't believe they said that, right?
Right.
Is that a real?
Right.
That's a real issue, right?
It is a real issue. And I think there's a lot of fear around offending somebody or
Sure.
saying the wrong thing and failing. And here's what I would say about that is that more often than not, most people never offend. They never offend, Jim. They never do. They never cross that line. And here's the thing. It's really easy. Here's a heuristic. We have to ask ourselves, am I laughing with people and lifting people up, or am I laughing at people? And there's a big difference. And as long as I stay on the line of lifting people up and making them laugh, being inclusive and not talking about stuff that I wouldn't talk about, with people at work, as long as we are doing that, our chances of offending are very low. We're going to stay on the right side of that. Where we get into trouble is where we are very lax about it.
Yeah.
But I find that most people who really are afraid aren't the ones we should worry about because they know enough to have common sense that we lift people up and we don't exclude people. So as long as you're lifting people up,
right,
and laughing with, not at, you're going to be okay. The chances of offending are really, really low. And there's so much upside to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, for sure. And people want to be in an environment that's fun, right?
Yes. Oh my God, people are so hungry for laughter. They're like, your people, the teams you lead are going, please, please, please don't be boring. Please make it fun. Please lighten up. Because They want to know that it's okay to be human.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes to the culture of the company. And so many people want to be in a company where they can relax and have fun. It means more in some cases than compensation, right?
It absolutely does. And I think what we're looking at now is that to attract younger workers and to keep them, Gen Z and even some millennials, you have to be a place that's transformational and a great place to work. And that matters.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Look at what companies are doing now with bean bags and pool tables and all kinds of machines. And, they're doing everything they can to make it look like a fun environment, but then they can be stiff as a board inside the office, right?
Exactly. And nobody cares about those extra things. Nobody cares about the pool tables. Nobody cares about what they care about is that the leaders show up and they make it safe to laugh. And here's the thing, Jim. Here's the big thing is that the leading indicator of a healthy culture, positive laughter.
See that?
If there's no laughter, if there's no positive, healthy laughter, run.
Right,
Run.
right. It also, it also, if you've got a great environment where people are relaxed and they're having they're sincerely having a good time, it also creates a better environment for creativity, right?
100%, 100%. One of the things that when we can show up imperfect and laugh at our mistakes is that we make it less scary to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what powers innovation. Part of why people don't innovate at work today is a 4-letter F word, not my favorite 4-letter F word, and that is fear.
That's right.
And we don't want to talk about it. But the truth is, if your team is not innovating, if they're not creating, chances are they don't feel that the environment makes it safe for them to do it, but they won't tell you that they don't trust you.
Right, for sure. You emphasize the importance of storytelling in leadership. How can leaders effectively use storytelling to inspire and motivate their teams?
Yeah, the really big thing about storytelling is that it is about change. And the most important thing about story is the change. What's the transformation you want your people to have? Be a little vulnerable, tell the truth. I think too many leaders get wrong that they think they have to create or invent a future that doesn't exist for anybody. And what your people are looking for is some little measure that you are telling the truth and you are being real with them. So you got to be transparent, you got to tell the truth, and you got to be a little bit vulnerable. And that means, Jim, you don't have to be perfect. The good news, you don't have to be perfect because guess what? Your employees already know that you're not.
That's right. What advice do you have for leaders looking to infuse more humor into their communication and organizational culture while also maintaining, as we just talked about, that level of professionalism? I know that you touched on a few things already.
Yeah. First of all, be real. And that means, just really be willing to drop the veil a little bit.
Yeah.
Be transparent about the things you can be honest about, because what your teams are looking for is some measure of like, all right, are they telling the truth? And they'll know. So be transparent, tell the truth, be a little bit vulnerable, and just make sure that you stay on the right side of laughing at yourself, laughing with people, laughing at your common humanity. There's so many things, Jim, that we can laugh at that all humans have in common that we never have to cross that line. And if you're willing to do that, the message that you send to your employees is that we can have fun here, and I don't take myself so seriously. I expect a lot from you, and I expect a lot from myself, but we can have fun here. And that's the right tone that you're going for. It's just a balance. On a scale from 1 to 10, what's been your experience? How important is having fun for associates in a company? On a scale from 1 to 10, is it a 5? Is it a 10? How important is it to have an environment like that? Yeah, so I think fun is really important. And let me tell you what fun is not. Fun is not like, hey, let's have a beer bash after work so that you can stay 3 more hours and not see your kids. Most people are like, I want to go home. Right. That's not what we mean by fun. Sure. What we mean by fun, Jim, is really, do employees get to have fun in the way that they work during work hours? Can they be less uptight? Is it safe to laugh? That's what we mean by fun. So fun, if we measure it by that standard, is super important because it is a measure of how safe employees feel to drop the corporate veil and be themselves. Yep. Kathy Guest, founder of Keeping It Human, author of an incredible book, which is Stop Boring Me, which I love the title of that book. Thank you. Also an improv comedian and keynote speaker. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is a great segment, one that I really have got so many more questions, but time won't allow. So I'd love to have you back to talk about this issue, because there's not a company out there that doesn't want to instill more fun in their workplace and among their associates, because I think we all agree that it's very, very high up on that scale in terms of level of importance with employees today. So thank you so much for joining 100%, Jim. 100%. I'll come back. I'll come back.
Great. I'm going to hold you to it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.